Welcome to my channel, Learning Libraries. Have you all watched my first video? If not, do subscribe to my channel, Learning Libraries, and watch the first video. And this is my second video that I'm starting. So basically, this channel is for all the people who love the books. But since I'm social studies teacher, I'm starting with the CBSE social science and I'll be moving forward with this. Okay. So today we are learning grade 6 social science CBSE history, our past one, what, where, how, and when. So when I had shot my first video, I had asked you a question that why did I choose learning libraries? Why, what incident or what was the experience that made me to choose learning libraries? So I would be sharing that secret at the end of this video. So keep watching for that. So, this lesson, what, where, how, and when, is a part of the Indian history, which is known as the ancient Indian history. Any country's history can be divided into three eras: modern, ancient, medieval, and modern. So, also, history cannot be just understood. We need proof for events that happened. We always find we are always in search of proofs are very important. For example, when you go to the next school, they will be asking what is your performance in the previous school, and how would you say? Would you just say verbally and would it be accepted? It's not so. We also have to produce the facts and we have to give it to them. We have to keep the facts in front of them. We have to show our mark sheets, which are some form of a literary source. Okay, if along with that you can also show your art pieces, that becomes an archaeological source, like you would have done something, some projects. Okay, so models, so such things can count under the archaeological sources. So basically this lesson deals with the sources of ancient Indian history, that is how we are going to, how the ancient Indian history has been found out, what became the basis of this, how we are saying that okay, these things have happened. It's not some just some we are not guessing the thing, it really has happened. So for that we need some evidences. So this video can, even though I'm not intending for some exam purpose, I hope that if you listen to the videos and audio carefully, definitely even the UPSC people and the SSC exam intenders would get an idea of in the entire lesson, as I'm going to read each and every word and paraphrase. Now, before moving on to the slide, the students who had been in grade 5, when they come to grade 6, they are learning social science for the first time. You would have been learning only the environmental science. So environmental science had social science inside it. Now you are studying it as a separate subject. So social science is a very vast subject. It has many divisions. Okay, there are so many divisions in social science, but in school time or in the school era, they have just contained, they have just chosen a few aspects. Okay, but even in these few aspects you will find different facets of it. Certain things go into the scientific side and certain things go into moralistic, certain things understand the behavior. So what we have done is we are clubbing till grade 8. You are learning history, geography, and civics. Civics is also known as political science. And in grade 9 and 10, you will also have one more subject, economics. So, so history deals with our past, that whenever the archaeologist finds some object, a literary source, along with archaeologists, the historian try to find the meaning and then they put a logic behind it. They say, okay, this is correct and this only happened. Okay, so that is the work of history, to tell the past of the humans And along with humans, we also understand the animals with regards. So when the human came, when the animals came, so in that regard, we start going backwards. Now, the geography deals with the earth. So what planet, what is the feature of the earth, why we are living in earth, what are the resources available, and what will happen in future if these resources get depleted, how to conserve them. So all these are the questions you ask in geography. It's basically the study of earth. And then civics, which is also known as political science, it is the present day situation as far as the rulers are concerned. Who are the rulers at present? What type of philosophies they follow? And what are the structures followed in a particular country? So all these form a very important aspect. So let's move on and start reading the lesson. So let's start with page 1. What, where, how, and when. Rashida's question. Rashida sat reading the newspaper. Suddenly, her eyes fell on a small headline 100 years ago. How? She wondered, could anyone know what had happened so many years ago? Finding out the next heading is finding out what happened. Yesterday, you could listen to the radio, watch television, read a newspaper. Last year, ask somebody who remembers. But what about long, long ago? Let's see how it can be done. So basically, what Rashida's question is that what would have happened 100 years ago? That is, today it is 2021. What would have happened in 1921? What would have been the incidents and where and how it has been recorded? What are the evidence for that? So suppose you want to know something that has happened yesterday, you just have to listen to the radio, television, newspaper. You can, or else today we don't have to go that far. We have our in our hand, we have a internet facility, and you can just tap the Google and know the happenings around the world. But that was not so long ago. And it's all also, if you want to remember something last year's happening, even last year's happening, you get it easily nowadays. But if you want to understand 100 years back, so it is a bit difficult, but there have been people who have taken effort to write about that. We call them authors, we call them historians. They have, these people, these authors have written about the time of time at that the period when they were there. They just wrote about it. Basically what the historians will do is they will read many books and understand the perspectives. That is, I will be writing in one way and I would be writing about things that I saw. There will be another perspective which another person would have written, and he would have written it in his way. So when the historian read many books, they get one piece of information. So it's very tough task for the historian. They have to go through each and every book, and then they have to analyze, okay, whether this is part of this era, and what are the hidden meanings, what are the hidden understandings that they get from some books. They cannot just keep reading. They have to match it. Okay, this person and that person spoke about the same incident. So they have to find the correlation, and they have to unearth the things that happened. What can we know about the past? So there are several things we can find out: what people ate, the kinds of clothes they wore, the houses in which they lived. We can find out about lives of hunters, herders, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, craft persons, artists, musicians, and scientists. We can also find out about the games children played, the stories they heard, the plays they saw, the songs they sang. So basically, we can find out about the basic necessities of life: food, clothes, and shelter. So you all know that all these three aspects have changed over time. We are not eating the raw food or only the agricultural products. We are eating food that are kept in cans. We are eating ready to eat foods. But that was not available at that point of time. People had to sow, do the agriculture, take the crop, and then they have to consume the food as well. And then clothing and shelter too have changed over the time. We will be seeing it. We can find out about lives of hunters. So these are the occupations in the earliest time. What were the occupations that people did? They were hunters, herders, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, craft persons, artists, musicians, and scientists. So all these people existed in those period of time. But they will not be to the extent that we are today. They will be quite different from us. But people used to work, people used to take care of their livelihood. So we will be understanding. Also, entertainment. We have to entertain ourselves. For entertainment, what do? You are a child, so you may be playing games, video games. And if you are a college going student, you may like to go and watch cinema. If you are in some 40s and 50s, you like to sing songs. So different ways are there to for the people to get entertained. And the society has changed in that regards too. People are from the outdoor sports and games to indoor sports, and now we have the computers and laptops where we play. Okay, and then we see cinemas, films. We have now the OTT platform, Netflix, so kind of a movie. But at that time there were only plays, stories. Now you have the comic books in the mobile phone. But there was a time when that also was not there, and songs they sang. So where did people live? So people used to settle near water bodies, especially the rivers, because you all know that sea water is not conducive for drinking. So people mostly searched for the fresh water. So when we come to Indian history, first river that played an important role was Narmada. Narmada is the place where early hunter gatherers used to live. Okay, they used to live there. And today also we find a group of tribal peoples are known as Adivasis. And these are one of the first people who who were given who came to India or who existed in India for a long period of time. They are known as the indigenous people, original people. And later, others have come to this land and then occupied and started living. And today, we have a whole tradition and culture. This is what the history says. This is what we understand from history. Okay, so people have traveled over time. Nobody can say that, oh, I was living here 1,000 years, I was living here 1 lakh years ago. But that's not the case. People have traveled, migrated, and then settled down. Okay, so Narmada is a river that flows across the states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat of the present day. Okay, it is in the West India. It's a river part of West India. So people have lived along the banks of this river for several hundred thousand years. Several hundred thousand years. That is Paleolithic age, we will say, one age in ancient Paleolithic age. So it is the old Stone Age. So ancient period is categorized in the form of Stone Age. So the Paleolithic age is the age when they just started using the stone tools. Some of the earliest people who lived here were skilled gatherers, that is, people who gathered their food. They knew about the vast wealth of plants in the surrounding forests and collected roots, fruits, and other forest produce for their living. So hunter gatherers were our ancestors. Somewhat they were like the chimpanzees, which are said to be wild human. So they were having lot of hair, and they had just evolved from the chimpanzee to a human form, Homo sapiens. So they started living in the forest like animals. They saw that some animals used to gather and some animals used to be killed. They got the meat of those animals. And in that regard, they started making weapons because they are surrounded by the animals from whom they need protection. Traveled, migrated, and then settled down. Okay, so Narmada was the river that Narmada is a river that flows across the states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat of the present day. Okay, it is in the West India. It's a river part of West India. So people have lived along the banks of this river for several hundred thousand years, several hundred thousand years. That is Paleolithic age, we will say one age in ancient Paleolithic age. So it is the old Stone Age. So ancient period is categorized in the form of Stone Age. So the Paleolithic age is the age when they just started using the stone tools. Some of the earliest people who lived here were skilled gatherers, that is, people who gathered their food. They knew about the vast wealth of plants in the surrounding forests and collected roots, fruits, and other forest produce for their living. So hunter gatherers were our ancestors. Somewhat they were like the chimpanzees, which are said to be wild and wild human. So they were having lot of hair and they had just evolved from the chimpanzee to a human form, Homo sapiens. So they started living in the forest like animals. They saw that some animals used to gather and some animals used to be killed. They got the meat of those animals. And in that regard, they started making weapons because they are surrounded by the animals from whom they need protection. These hunter gatherers slowly started using the tools and creating weapons for themselves. They also hunted animals. So, hunters and gatherers, that is the name. Okay. So, most of the tribal people, the people who have been living long from the long time on a particular land, they are today a very marginalized society. We have not given them the identity, but that uh, that is not correct also, but they are being recognized, and all of us should try strive to give them some importance in the modern day too. Wherever you find tribals, they are the original people who used to live in this land long ago, from long time. So we have to pay respects to them, but most of the time what we think, they are the foreigners and what they are not cultured and all. But it was somewhat disheartening that we have not provided them the equal footings. We find the tribals even in Andaman Nicobar, in Tamil Nadu some forests are there also we can find. So basically these people have been the original people who lived in this land for years together. But the structure, government structures in India and other things would happen over time. Over time, different groups would come to India in search of fertile land, water, mineral resources, and others. So let's move forward. Now find the Suleiman and Kirtar hills to the northwest. Northwest is a part of India where we find Punjab today and even Pakistan. Pakistan is not part of India at present, but Punjab is one of the states of India. Some of the areas where women and men first began to grow crops such as wheat and barley about 8,000 years ago are located here. People also began rearing animals like sheep, goat. So another important location to be mentioned here is the Garo Hills. You can see that it is part of the place where Assam, the state of Assam is there today, and Vindhyas, it's a part of the area which is in Madhya Pradesh. So as you are seeing now, we have been asked to mark three things: Narmada River, then Sulaiman and Kirta Hills, then Garo Hills. So these are how it started stepping. So first from Narmada we started occupying, then the Suleiman and Kirtar hills we went towards the upper portion, and then some people also went towards the northeast and central India. So this is how the tribal culture grew. It started becoming more and more. So in history, as two things are very important. First is the map, how the map is shaping up. Today we have one map, but that map has developed over the time. So we have to understand what were the places that existed but named. Okay, people have named certain things and then moved forward. So we will be seeing how the map has been evolved over time. So we have to have a map with us. In India river map is a constant um, partner. It has to be with us for a better understanding. Along with that, there are certain things known as timeline. You have to categorize the years. We need to mark the years because years are very important. Many people think, why do you have to learn the years? It's so tough, but it's not so tough. You are remembering phone numbers, you're all remembering your parents' date of birth, your date of birth, some important years, something you have won, a race. So it's not so difficult to learn years. You can train your mind to associate events with a year. You have to develop that skill. It makes our brain to be more factual. You have to feed your brain with lot of factual knowledge, and history gives you that. It tells you why did things happen, why today, why do you see certain things today that happened over time, what made it. So all your answers would be shared. It would be taken from that point of time. Let's move ahead. These were some of these were some of the other areas where agriculture developed, that is Garo Hill and Vindhyas. The places where rice were first grown are to the north of Vindhya. So basically, the north of Vindhya, Bihar is there. So in Bihar, rice was used to be grown. Okay, trace the river Indus and its tributaries. So Indus is the river from which we got the name India. So Indus has five tributaries: Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum, Satluj, Beas. So these are all the tributaries of Indus: Satluj, Ravi, Beas, Jhelum, Chenab. So these five are the tributaries of Indus. Tributaries are smaller rivers that flow into a large river. Now, before we move on to that, there is a small piece of information on the right side. The map that we saw on the previous page, so this map shows us South Asia in its entirety and also the borders, which where there are Afghanistan, China, Myanmar, and other places. The Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Nepal were all part of the Indian territory. Okay, so they were not something different. They have been carved out over time and given a separate identity. But a long time ago, it was part of the Indian subcontinent, and over the time, its identity have changed based on the rulership and all the other factors. About 4,700 years ago, some of the earliest settlements, that earliest cities flourished on the banks of these rivers. Later, about 2,500 years ago, cities developed on the bank of the Ganga and its tributary and along the sea coast. So, first, Indus was very important. There was a great civilization that was started in Indus. Later on, there was another group who came and who overtook the original people. They are not original. Even the Indus Valley people traveled and settled. So these people, the later from another part of a world, some people traveled and then they they had made sure that Indus Valley people are not living, and then they started continuing their life. So from here we will see the importance of river Ganga. Ganga river is very auspicious and special for Indians. So you will find how it became the center of our attraction, especially that today Ganga is known as the national river. Okay, locate the Ganga and its tributary called the Son. Okay, so these two things are very important. You need to know Ganga and its tributary called Son. In ancient times, the area along these rivers to the south of Ganga was known as Magadha, now lying in the state of Bihar. Its rulers were very powerful and set up a large kingdom. Kingdoms were set up in other parts of the country as well. So Ganga was a very fertile, very good river with fresh water supply, and the areas where it flowed were also very fertile land. So that the place called Magadha was the place where a great ancient empire was established and it got seated. Throughout, people traveled from one part of the subcontinent to another. The hills, the high mountains, including Himalayas, deserts, rivers, and seas, made journeys dangerous at times but never impossible. So, men and women moved in search of livelihood as also to escape from natural disasters like floods or droughts. Sometimes men marched in armies conquering other lands. Besides, merchants traveled with caravans or ships carrying valuable goods from place to place, and religious teachers walked from village to village, town to town, stopping to offer instruction and advice on the way. Finally, some people traveled driven by spirit of adventure, wanting to discover new exciting places. So, what are all the reasons people travel? First and foremost is the natural disasters. We don't know when the nature will show its fear, and when it will turn. We know that there are a lot of natural calamities that happen like flood, earthquake, volcanoes. So people will move from a location when such incident happen. Secondly, there were rulers who used to move from one place to another to conquer, to get more and more land, to make more and more land in part of their own kingdom. So at for in that regards, people have moved for acquiring or conquering others' land. Then thirdly, people have moved from one place to another to sell their produce, which happens even today. You will see people going to different locations and selling their produce. Fourthly, there are religious leaders, saints who go to different places and they will give their sermons, advice, or some they will be reading out shlokas, they will be doing meditations in different places and sharing their ideologies. Okay, and then fifthly, the last point is that some people are generally adventurous in nature. They don't worry about what will happen to their life, what is there a risk behind this traveling. They just want to go. So these are all the accounts we get, and these all become part of the literary sources. If any natural disaster happen, that is the time when things get scattered, broken, and they get submerged under the earth. So these things get dug up during the surveys, archaeological surveys. Other things about kings, there will be some different things written for the kings and otherwise. All these led to the sharing of ideas between people. Why do people travel nowadays? So you can put up your answer in the comment. Look at map 1 once again. Hills, mountains, and seas formed the natural frontiers for the subcontinent. While it was difficult to cross these frontiers, those who crossed could and did scale the mountains and cross the seas. People from across the frontiers also came into the subcontinent and settled here. So people in the those period of time were not at all like they will not feel like I have to cross a big mountain. How would I do that? They just would keep all the things ready and start moving. These mountains have been a natural frontier. that is boundary. We didn't have to separate our land from the other land. Naturally, things have been separated. They have been separated for a cause. While it was difficult to cross, so it was difficult, people felt lot of difficulty for crossing, but then they did take the adventure, and there were people who came to our land and settled too. So it was not something very like unthinkable. Okay, so this is a map of South Asia, including the present countries of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka, and the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, Iran, China and Myanmar. South Asia is often called a subcontinent because although it is smaller than a continent, it is very large and is separated from the rest of the Asia by seas, hills, and mountains. So South Asia is the region Indians are living. There are 8 South Asian countries. Mention them in the chat. Okay. These movements of people enriched our cultural tradition. People have shared new ways of carving stones, composing music, and even cooked food over several hundred years. See, most of the today also, even students also prefer to go to some foreign country and understand their culture. Now, what would happen after few years when they return? They will come with new ideologies and try to implement it them, or they will carry their own ideology and leave it in that place and come back. So it is not something that is not thought of. We change our tradition, we change our ideas, they change their tradition, they change their ideas. So there is a different there are various modification made when people interact with each other. Names of the land, so every country had a different name over a period of time, or they even their present name would have been developed over a period of time. Names of the land. Two of the words were often used for our country are India and Bharat. The word India comes from the Indus called Sindhu in Sanskrit. From Iran and Greece, find Iran and Greece in your atlas. So if you have atlas, open the world map and find Iran and Greece. The Iranians and the Greeks who came through northwest about 2500 years ago and were familiar with Indus called it the Hindus or the Indus, and the land to the east of the river was called India. The name Bharata was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest and who are mentioned in the Rig Veda, the earliest composition in Sanskrit, dated to about 3500 years ago. Later, it was used for the country. So, two groups of people have been identified. One is people living near Indus River and people who lived in Northwest. And so, first group they were mentioned as Indus, India, and second group Bharat. Okay, finding out about the past. So here we are understanding the different type of sources for ancient history. There are several ways of finding out about the past. One is to search for and read books that were written long ago. These are called manuscripts because they were written by hand, and this comes from, that is, the word manuscript comes from the Latin word manu, meaning hand. These were usually written on palm leaf or on the specially prepared bark of a tree known as the birch, which grows in the Himalayas. So people started writing manually. The classworks that you write, the handwriting using which you start inscribing, these are all part of your handwriting, and this becomes your manuscript. Over the years, many manuscripts were eaten away by insects. Some were destroyed, but many have survived, often preserved in temples and monasteries. These books dealt with all kinds of subjects: religious beliefs, practices, the lives of king, medicines, and science. Besides There were epics, poems, and plays. Many of these were written in Sanskrit, others were in Prakrit, languages used by ordinary people, and Tamil. Sanskrit was used by the ruling class, and Tamil was used in South India. Prakrit was the language used by Jains and the normal people. We can also study inscriptions. These are writings relatively These are writings on relatively hard surfaces such as stones or metals. Sometimes kings got their orders inscribed so that people could see, read, and obey them. There are other kinds of inscriptions as well, where men and women, including kings and queens, recorded what they did. For example, kings often kept records of victories in battle. Can you think of the advantages of writing on a hard surface? And what could have been the difficulties? There were many things that were made and used in the past. Those who study these objects are called archaeologists. They study the remains of building made up of stone and brick, paintings and sculpture. They also explore and excavate, that is, dig under the surface of the earth to find tools, weapons, pots, pans, ornaments, and coins. Some of these objects may be made of stone, others of bone, baked clay, or metal. Objects that are made of hard, imperishable substances usually survive for a long period of time. So basically, till now we have seen three things. First, we saw manuscript. Secondly, we seen inscriptions. Third is archaeology. Okay, but inscriptions and manuscripts are both together known as literary sources because they are some kind of written evidences. Manuscript is written on a soft surface and inscription is written on a hard surface. Manuscripts were preserved in the temples, but inscription need not be preserved, but then they too, some of them have broken due to the natural calamities. No, then there is archaeology where the archaeologists, they will analyze the products, the things that they got from the earth, like metals, jewelries, ornaments, and other. Let's see a picture given here. An old inscription. This inscription dates to about 2250 years ago and was found in Kandahar, present day Afghanistan. It was inscribed on the orders of a ruler named Ashoka. You will read about him in chapter 8. When we write anything, we use a script. Scripts consist of letters or signs. When we read what is written or speak, we use a language. This inscription was inscribed in two different scripts and languages, Greek and Aramaic, which were used in this area. Okay, see some more sources here. A pot from an old city. So in the left side, you can see a brown color pot. Pots like this were used about 4,700 years ago. So these pots are made up of terracotta clays. An old silver coin could be seen on the right side. Coins such as this one were in use from about 2,500 years ago. So you can see the coins are not in the circular shape. They are kind of a seal. They represent a seal with maybe a kingdom's motif. That is, motif means it is the imprint, something they have imprinted on the coin, like we find emblems today that represents our coin of India. So every country have something different, some different symbols inscribed on their coin. We can see here also in this coin some things have been some motifs, we will call this as motif. Some different motifs have been carved out, so this defines a country. Archaeologists look for bones of animals, birds, and fish to find out what people ate in the past. Plant remains survive far more rarely. If seeds of grain or pieces of wood have been burnt, they survived in a charred form. Do you think cloth is found frequently by archaeologists? Historians, that is, scholars who study the past, often use the word source to refer to the information found from manuscripts, inscriptions, and archaeology. Once sources are found, learning about the past becomes an adventure. As we construct it bit by bit, so historians and archaeologists are like detectives who use all these sources like clues to find out about our past. So basically, they will, like I am paraphrasing this book, they will also paraphrase. They have to find the deep meaning out of what is written. They have to go behind the scenes. They have to analyze, oh, so this person has written this, and another person of that same period has written something else, and he has to say that both are part of the same era, and he has to give a conclusion. That is the work of historians. He has to take so many perspective and find where he can link them to one particular era, and how we can describe things, one past or many. Did you notice the title of this book, Our Pasts? We have used the word past in plural to draw attention to the fact that the past was different for different group of people. For example, the lives of herders or farmers were different from those of kings and queens. The lives of merchants were different from those of craftspersons and so on. Also, as true is even today, people follow different practices and customs in different part of the country. For example, today most people living in Andaman Nicobar Islands get their own food by fishing, hunting, collecting forest produce. By contrast, most people living in the cities depend on others for supply of food. Differences such as these existed in the past as well. Besides, there is another kind of difference. We know a great deal about kings and the battles they fought because they kept records of their victories. Generally, ordinary people such as hunters, fishing folk, gatherers, farmers, or herders did not keep record of what they did. While archaeology helps us to find out about their lives, there is much that remains unknown. So, essentially, it is that people who are rich have the time and money to make paintings, or do make the court poets to write about them, and so on. But the ordinary people, they don't have the time even to think about their life. They have to keep going on with their life, and they have to do their work. It's not different even today. People who have money go into the field of acting, they go into advertising and get their name on the paper. But it's very tough for the ordinary people, middle class people, to come to a, because they are worried about their work at that point of time. So what do dates mean? If somebody asks you the date, you will probably mention the day, month, and year. 2000 and something. 2021, na? These years are counted from the date generally assigned to the birth of Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity. So 2000 means 2000 years after the birth of Christ. All dates before the birth of Christ are counted backwards and usually have the letters BC added on. In this book, we will refer to dates going back from the present, using 2000 as our starting point. So, if you take 0 as the midpoint, 0 is taken to be the birth of Jesus Christ. In the left side, we will start coming backwards. In the right side, we move forward. Where we come backward, it is known as BC. It's also known as BCE and CE. We can also write in that way. BCE means before Common Era, and CE means after Common Era. This definition we have taken to make the connotations or the dates not to be a religion specific one, because BC and AD are specific to Jesus Christ's birth, but there are other religions in the world too. So they thought, okay, we should not generalize with a particular religion, so we have taken before common era and after common era. Okay, before common era and common era, BCE and CE as an identity to mark the differences, but you will find in many books BC and AD, which is not a wrong thing. BC before Christ, AD anno domini. So both are using BC AD and BCE and CE. Both are correct. Both will be sufficient. So this is all about this lesson. So there is an elsewhere part in your book, but that you can go over. It's not so different. They have just talked about the codes, decipherment, how the languages were a bit tough and people had to carve out things. The people had to find the existing language. They had to use different techniques and come about and think about what the language entitles and how they can satisfy the language. They have to use different symbols to find out, okay, this letter meant this, that letter meant that. So they have to give identity to each and every letter. So for the I had said that towards the end of the video, I'll be sharing why I have chosen libraries. So I was studying in a college which had a very great library. It had two floors. Okay, so this was the place that I was found more or less in the college times. So I used to be there in the library for a long period of time, and I used to be reading different books and understanding and knowing about the world. So basically, I used to know each and every rack in the library, and I used to know where we will get certain kinds of book, and I used to guide the students that please go to this particular rack and you will get that particular book. So in such way I used to guide. I used to even go to the first floor of the library and see the English literature books, and I would know where to find such books even. So it was a very great experience. In that regards, I have spent lot of time in the library.